When a woman senses that your attention is fading, something powerful happens inside her. See, women are used to being pursued. They're used to men craving their validation, fighting for their attention, and constantly trying to impress them. But when you, yes, you, pull back and show her that her beauty, her charm, her games no longer hold the same power over you, she's forced into a reality check. The very first reaction a woman goes through when she realizes you have lost interest in her is pure panic. And this panic is not always loud, not always visible on the surface. Sometimes it's silent. It's in the way she suddenly starts overthinking, in the way she replays every single moment you two shared, trying to pinpoint the exact moment where she lost her grip on you. Women are used to being pursued, to being admired, to being placed on a pedestal where men give them constant attention and validation. And when that source of validation suddenly dries up, it shakes her sense of control to the core. Panic is not just fear of losing you, it's fear of losing her power over you. This sudden panic mode usually starts small. It begins with confusion. She notices that the texts you once replied to instantly now sit unanswered for hours. The compliments that used to flow effortlessly from your mouth are suddenly missing. The eagerness in your tone, the anticipation in your energy, the excitement you carried whenever she appeared, all of that feels like it has been dialed down. And at first, she tries to rationalize it. Maybe you're busy, maybe you're stressed, maybe it's just a phase. But the more she thinks about it, the more she realizes this is different. You're not the same man who once chased her, and that difference unsettles her deeply. Panic then turns into hyper-awareness. Every word you say, every gesture you make, every silence you hold, she starts over-analyzing it. If you don't text her for a day, she wonders if you've moved on. If you reply with short answers, she questions whether your attention is elsewhere. If you laugh less at her jokes, she feels like she's losing her charm. Suddenly, her mind becomes consumed with the possibility that she is no longer the center of your universe. And that thought alone is enough to trigger waves of insecurity that she will try to mask with pride, with attitude, or with silence. But deep down, she's restless. In this sudden panic mode, her ego takes the biggest hit because women, whether they admit it or not, thrive on the idea of being desired. Desire is their proof of power. And when a man who once validated them no longer plays that role, the illusion of superiority begins to crack. She starts asking herself questions she doesn't want to answer. Am I not attractive enough? Did he find someone better? Why doesn't he want me the way he used to? These questions torment her because they attack her very identity. A woman's ego is built on the belief that she is irresistible, that she is unforgettable. So when you show her through your actions that she is not, her world starts trembling. The panic can manifest in her behavior too. She might start texting you more often than usual, sometimes with meaningless questions, just to check if you'll respond the way you once did. She might call you randomly, pretending she just thought of you, but in reality, she's scanning your tone, trying to figure out if the spark is gone. She may even start sending you pictures or little updates about her day, things she never used to share, because she's desperate to pull your attention back. And the irony is, she will never admit that it's panic driving these actions. On the outside, she'll make it seem casual, natural, like she's just being herself. But you and I both know that it's not casual, it's calculated. It's her way of fighting against the fear of losing you. But here's the psychological truth behind this panic. It's not always about you as a person. Sometimes it's about the power dynamic. She's not panicking because she lost you. She's panicking because she lost the control she once had over you. When she no longer dictates how you feel, when her presence no longer dictates your mood, when her absence no longer creates desperation in you, that's when she realizes she's losing something much deeper than your attention. She's losing her ability to control the script, and that loss of control feels unbearable to her. And so, this sudden panic mode is often hidden behind layers of pride. She won't directly tell you she's worried. Instead, she'll try to regain control in subtle ways. She might test you with silence to see if you'll chase again. She might throw attitude your way, hoping to provoke a reaction. She might even play the role of being unbothered, but her actions will betray her because deep down, she's unsettled. She's restless. She's panicking at the thought that the man who once adored her is slipping through her fingers and there's nothing she can do to stop it. After the initial wave of panic, when she senses that something has shifted in you, the next thing she does almost instinctively is test your interest. This is one of the most common and predictable behaviors women display when they feel your energy slipping away. Because a woman doesn't want to confront the harsh reality immediately. She doesn't want to accept that you've lost interest. Instead, she tries to gather proof that she still matters to you, proof that you still care, proof that she can still pull you back whenever she wants. And the only way she can get that proof is by testing you. These tests may not always be obvious. In fact, many of them will be disguised as casual gestures, innocent remarks, or subtle actions. But underneath the surface, each one carries the same hidden question. Do I still have power over him? That's what every test boils down to. She wants to know whether the attention she once commanded from you is still there, or if she has truly lost it. And so she starts experimenting, playing little games, pushing your buttons, just to see what kind of reaction you will give her. One of the first tests you might notice is the random message. Out of nowhere, she texts you something small, maybe a simple hey, maybe an emoji, maybe a question she could have easily answered herself. It doesn't matter what the content is. The purpose is not the message, it's your reaction. She wants to see how fast you respond. Do you still drop everything and reply within seconds like you once did? Do you still show excitement in your words, adding emojis, giving her validation? Or do you now reply late, short, cold, detached? That tiny exchange tells her everything she needs to know about where your interest stands. Another common test comes through social media. Suddenly, she begins posting more stories than usual, and those stories are often crafted with precision. A night out with friends, a carefully posed picture, maybe even a photo with another man in the background. It's all intentional. She wants to know, will you watch her stories immediately? Will you swipe up and comment? Will you ask her about the guy in the picture? In her mind, if you react, she still has control. If you don't, she starts to realize that her hold over you is slipping faster than she thought. Sometimes the test becomes verbal. She might bring up an old memory between the two of you, something intimate, something that used to mean a lot. She'll casually say, remember when we, not because she wants to reminisce, but because she's observing your response. If you get emotional, if you laugh the way you used to, if you show her that the past still matters, then she feels reassured. But if your reaction is dry, indifferent, or dismissive, it sends her into another spiral of worry. That's when she realizes you're no longer attached the way she hoped you still were. There's also the jealousy test. Women know jealousy is one of the most powerful ways to measure a man's interest. So she might intentionally mention another man, maybe a coworker, maybe a friend, maybe someone she just met. She'll drop his name casually into conversation, watching you closely, waiting for even the slightest sign of discomfort. If your tone changes, if you start questioning her, if you show irritation, she silently celebrates because she knows she still matters. But if you remain calm, unaffected, and completely unbothered, that lack of reaction speaks volumes to her. It tells her that her attempts to stir you no longer work, and that realization eats at her ego. But what makes these tests truly fascinating is the psychology behind them. When a woman tests you after realizing your interest is fading, she is not doing it because she's happy or secure. She's doing it because she feels threatened. She's doing it because she fears the loss of her influence over you. Every test is her way of trying to pull you back into her orbit to confirm that she still has the ability to affect your emotions. It's not always about love. It's about control, because for her, your reactions are proof that she still matters in your world. And you'll notice something interesting. The more indifferent you are, the more she tests you. If you fail to react to her messages, she'll send more. If you don't comment on her stories, she'll make them more provocative. If you don't get jealous, she'll try harder to create situations that might spark jealousy. It's almost like she's escalating the tests, raising the stakes each time, desperately trying to find a crack in your armor. Because for her, your indifference is the biggest threat. It means she no longer has control over your emotions, and that terrifies her more than anything else. So when she starts testing you, understand what's truly happening beneath the surface. It's not about the text, the story, or the casual remark. It's about the power dynamic. She's searching for proof that she still holds the upper hand. And every time you remain calm, detached, and unaffected, you send her the silent message she dreads the most. That power is gone. After the panic and after the endless tests to measure your interest, if she still feels that you're slipping further away, many women turn to a different strategy. They begin to act like they don't care. And this shift is not because she has truly detached from you, but because she wants to protect her pride. Women are deeply emotional creatures, but they're also masters of appearances. They hate to look vulnerable, they hate to look like they're losing, and they especially hate to let you see that your withdrawal is affecting them. So instead of showing you her fear or her insecurity, she flips the script and begins to present herself as if she has completely moved on. This act of indifference is one of the most common shields women use. You'll notice it in the sudden changes in her behavior. She'll stop initiating conversations, not because she doesn't want to, but because she wants you to think she doesn't need to. She'll start posting pictures of herself looking happy, confident, and unbothered, not because she is genuinely fulfilled, but because she wants you to believe that your absence has no impact on her. It's a game of perception. She wants to convince you that while you may have pulled away, she is already detached emotionally and doesn't feel the sting. But the irony is that this I don't care mask is often the clearest sign that she cares more than ever. You see, true indifference doesn't need to be announced, it doesn't need to be displayed, and it certainly doesn't need to be performed. A woman who truly doesn't care won't go out of her way to show you how happy she is without you. But when she's posting more frequently, dressing differently, surrounding herself with people just to show she's living her best life, that's not indifference, that's performance. It's her ego's way of regaining control. She knows she has lost your attention, so now she tries to win the battle by making you believe that your lack of interest doesn't hurt her. She might even start speaking differently. Where she once sought your opinion, now she dismisses it. Where she once wanted your approval, now she says things like, I don't need anyone. She'll throw phrases like, I'm just focusing on myself, or I don't have time for games, as if to declare that she's above the situation. But deep inside, this is not strength. It's defense. It's a protective wall she builds to shield herself from the pain of rejection. Acting like she doesn't care is not a reflection of freedom, it's a reflection of fear. Sometimes this indifference act takes on a more extreme form. She'll become overly social, suddenly going out more, posting about parties, dinners, trips, or new friendships. Every picture, every update is carefully curated to create the image that she's thriving without you. But what she's really doing is hoping you'll see those posts and feel a pang of regret, a touch of jealousy, or even a flicker of curiosity. Because if she can trigger any kind of reaction in you, she'll feel that she still matters. And that's the real purpose behind the act. It's not about moving on, it's about pulling you back. The acting like she doesn't care phase also exposes one of the deepest contradictions in female psychology. On one hand, she's hurt by your lack of interest, but on the other, she refuses to admit that hurt. So instead of confronting it, she buries it under a mask of strength and indifference. She wants to punish you by showing you that she can live without you, but in the process, she ends up revealing just how much your withdrawal has affected her. Because a woman who truly doesn't care doesn't need to play games, she doesn't need to prove anything, and she doesn't need to make a show of her independence. The very fact that she is going out of her way to display indifference is the proof that your absence has shaken her more than she wants to admit. And here's the psychological truth. When a woman acts like she doesn't care, she's not trying to convince herself. She's trying to convince you. She wants you to second guess your decision, to doubt your distance, to think that maybe you're the one losing out. She wants to flip the power dynamic by making it seem like you're no longer significant in her life. But underneath that act, she still checks if you've seen her stories. She still waits for your name to pop up on her screen. And she still wonders if your silence means you've truly moved on. This phase can often confuse men because on the surface, it looks like she's unaffected. You might think she's gone, that she's truly over you, but in reality, this is just another test wrapped in pride. She's observing whether her act of indifference will pull you back in. She wants to see if you'll get jealous, if you'll start chasing again, if her display of being over it will trigger your insecurities. And if you take the bait, if you rush back to prove your worth, then she feels she's regained control. But if you stay calm, consistent, and detached, her mask eventually begins to crack, and the indifference she tried so hard to project collapses under the weight of her real emotions. When the act of pretending she doesn't care begins to lose its grip, when she realizes that her silence and her mask of indifference isn't pulling you back the way she hoped, many women resort to one of the oldest, most powerful tactics in their arsenal, the jealousy trigger. This is a tool that women have relied on for centuries, not because it guarantees results, but because it almost always gets some kind of reaction. And for her, any reaction is better than no reaction at all. Jealousy, after all, is one of the deepest, rawest human emotions, and if she can spark even a flicker of it in you, it reassures her that she still has a place in your mind and in your emotions. The jealousy trigger can take many different forms, but at its core, it's always the same. She wants you to see her as wanted by others. Because if she can convince you that other men find her desirable, then in her mind, you'll feel the sting of competition, the threat of replacement, and the fear of loss. This is how she tries to reverse the dynamic. She's no longer chasing you directly. Instead, she plants seeds of insecurity, hoping that those seeds will grow into doubts strong enough to pull you back toward her. At first, these triggers are subtle. She might casually mention another man in conversation, a coworker who's been so helpful, a friend who really understands her, or even a stranger who complimented her. She doesn't need to go into detail. The mere mention is enough to test your reaction. She watches your face, your tone, the pauses in your voice. If she notices even the smallest shift, she knows she's touched a nerve, and that knowledge alone feeds her ego. But if subtlety doesn't work, she escalates. Suddenly, her social media looks different. Pictures of nights out, group dinners, concerts, trips, images carefully curated, not just to show her having fun, but to show her surrounded by other men. A photo where she's leaning in too close, a video where another man is in the background, a tag that hints at male company. None of it is coincidence. Every post is calculated to hit you where it hurts, to make you question her loyalty, to make you wonder if you've already been replaced. And while she may act like it's all natural and innocent, deep down, she knows exactly what she's doing. Sometimes the jealousy trigger becomes even more direct. She might flirt openly in front of you, laugh harder at another man's jokes, give her attention where she once gave it only to you. She might suddenly become more distant in conversations, only to light up when another man enters the room. It's not because she genuinely cares about these men, it's because she wants you to notice. She wants to create contrast, to show you that while you are pulling away, others are moving closer. And in her mind, this should wake you up. It should remind you of her value. It should reignite your desire. But here's the interesting part. The jealousy trigger is rarely about genuine interest in someone else. It's almost always about you. If she truly moved on, she wouldn't need you to see her with other men. She wouldn't care if you noticed or not. The very fact that she's showcasing it, the very fact that she's putting it in your line of sight is proof that it's not about them. It's about regaining control over you. It's not about love. It's about leverage. She wants to test if she can still manipulate your emotions, if she can still pull you back into the game by making you feel insecure. This tactic works on so many men because jealousy is a powerful motivator. Most men, the moment they see their woman with another man, feel the primal instinct to reclaim, to reassert dominance, to win her back. And that's exactly the reaction she's hoping for. Because once you react, once you show her that her actions have affected you, she knows she still matters. She knows she still has the power to control your emotions. And that realization gives her back the ego boost she was craving. But what happens when you don't react? What happens when you see her trying to trigger your jealousy, and instead of chasing, instead of questioning, instead of fighting, you remain calm, detached, and indifferent? That's when the tactic begins to backfire, because the jealousy trigger only works when it provokes. If it fails, if you show her that you're not moved by her attempts, it sends her into an even deeper spiral of insecurity. She starts to wonder, why isn't he jealous? Has he really moved on? Am I really that replaceable? Has he already found someone better? The very weapon she thought would win you back becomes the weapon that turns against her, cutting into her pride and exposing her vulnerability. And this is the truth about the jealousy trigger. It's not a sign of her strength, it's a sign of her desperation. When a woman resorts to making you jealous, it's because every other tactic has failed. It's because her silence didn't work, her tests didn't work, and her act of indifference didn't work. Jealousy is the last card she plays to get your attention, and when that card doesn't deliver the reaction she wants, she's left with nothing but the sinking feeling that she's truly lost control. When every other tactic fails, when the panic doesn't bring you back, when the subtle tests don't move you, when the act of indifference falls flat, and when even the jealousy trigger doesn't shake you, many women enter the phase I call the desperate chase. And this is where things get very revealing, because the desperate chase is not her natural state. Women are not wired to pursue men the way men often pursue women. For most of their lives, they've been conditioned to be pursued, to sit back and let attention come to them, to expect men to fight for their affection. So when a woman finds herself in the position of chasing, it's a clear sign that she feels something slipping away that she cannot afford to lose. It's her last attempt to pull you back before she accepts defeat. This stage is often marked by sudden, dramatic changes in her behavior. Where she was once cold, distant, or dismissive, now she becomes warm, affectionate, and even overly accommodating. She might start texting you more frequently, not with casual small talk, but with effort, longer messages, deep questions, emotional check-ins. She might suddenly want to know about your day, your feelings, your thoughts, almost as if she's trying to reestablish the intimacy that has faded. It's not because she's suddenly rediscovered her love for you, it's because she's terrified of the possibility of losing you for good. She might also start making herself more available. If she used to be too busy to meet, suddenly her schedule is open. If she once made you wait for her, now she's the one waiting for you. If she used to hold back affection, now she's pouring it out without hesitation. This shift can be confusing for a man because it almost feels like she has changed overnight. But the truth is, she hasn't changed. She's just reacting to the loss of control. The desperate chase is not about genuine transformation. It's about fear. Fear of being forgotten, fear of being replaced, fear of no longer having the influence she once had over you. In some cases, the desperate chase becomes dramatic. She might start reminiscing about the past, reminding you of special moments, trying to trigger nostalgia so that you feel emotionally tied to her again. She might even bring up serious conversations, talking about commitment, the future, or how much you mean to her. These conversations aren't always authentic, they're often tactical. She knows that if she can convince you that she sees a future with you, it might pull you back into the dynamic. But the real motive behind these words is not clarity, it's control. Another common behavior in the desperate chase is the sudden display of vulnerability. She may start opening up about her insecurities, her fears, even her personal struggles in ways she never did before. This is not random, it's calculated. By showing vulnerability, she's hoping to awaken your protective instincts, to trigger your desire to take care of her, to make you feel like she needs you. Because if she can convince you that she's dependent on your support, then she feels she still has a way to keep you close. At times, the chase can also turn physical. She may use intimacy as a tool, offering herself more readily, being more affectionate, initiating more than she ever did before. It's her way of reminding you of the bond you once shared, her way of pulling you back through desire. But again, this is not always about passion, it's about preservation. It's about using every weapon she has left to keep you from fully walking away. The psychology of the desperate chase reveals something very important about female behavior. When a woman chases, it's not a sign of power, it's a sign of weakness. It means she has exhausted all her usual strategies and now has no choice but to step into unfamiliar territory. It means she has realized, even if she won't admit it, that she is losing, and this realization often eats away at her pride. But her fear of losing you outweighs her pride, so she keeps pushing, keeps chasing, keeps trying to pull you back in. But here's what makes this stage dangerous for men. Many men fall for the desperate chase. They see her sudden affection, her sudden attention, her sudden change of behavior, and they mistake it for love. They think she has finally realized their worth, finally chosen them, finally decided to treat them the way they always wanted. But what they don't realize is that this is not love. It's survival. She's not chasing you because she values you. She's chasing you because she values the power she had over you, and now she's fighting to get it back. The desperate chase can last for a while, depending on how much ego she has invested in you, but it is not sustainable. Because eventually, if you don't respond, if you don't give her the reaction she's hoping for, she will burn out. She will either accept defeat and withdraw, or she will turn her attention elsewhere in search of someone new to validate her. The chase is her final card, her last attempt, her ultimate test to see if she can still control you. And the way you respond in this stage determines whether the power dynamic shifts back to her or stays with you. After all the panic, after all the subtle tests, after all the performances of indifference, and after every attempt to make you jealous or chase her again, there comes a stage where reality sinks in. And this stage is what I call acceptance. Acceptance is when she finally realizes that no matter what she does, she can't bend you the way she used to. No tactic, no game, no strategy has worked. And now she has no choice but to face the truth. Your interest has shifted, your energy has changed, and you are no longer the man who can be controlled by her presence alone. This stage often comes with a mix of emotions: sadness, frustration, disappointment, but also, surprisingly, a newfound respect. Because while she may have lost your attention, she has gained something that not many men ever earn from women: genuine respect. At first, acceptance doesn't feel like respect, it feels like resignation. She may stop texting as much. She may stop posting to get your attention. She may stop playing the games that once defined her behavior. She goes silent. And to many men, this silence looks like defeat. But in reality, it's more complex than that. This silence is not always her walking away. It's her recognizing that you are different, that unlike the men who crumble under pressure, unlike the men who chase harder when threatened, you have shown restraint, control, and a level of discipline that sets you apart. And that realization begins to alter the way she views you. Respect is born in the absence of control, when she sees that her beauty, her charm, her attention, and even her withdrawal no longer dictate your actions. She is forced to acknowledge your strength, because in her world, most men are predictable. They crave validation, they fear rejection, they chase after indifference, and they fight against jealousy. But when she meets a man who doesn't flinch at any of those tactics, it shatters her expectations. It forces her to reframe who you are in her mind, not as another man she can manipulate, but as a man who truly stands on his own ground. And whether she admits it or not, women deeply admire men who cannot be swayed by them. During this stage, she may test less and observe more. She might not reach out as much, but when she does, her tone will be different. There will be less entitlement, less arrogance, less assumption that you will bend. Instead, her words may carry curiosity, even a hint of humility. She may ask about your life in ways that sound more genuine, not because she wants to pull you back, but because she wants to understand what makes you so unshakable. That shift in tone is a sign that the dynamic has changed. The respect is forming, and it's no longer about what she can take from you. It's about what she can learn from you. In some cases, acceptance also brings out admiration. She may not say it openly, but deep inside, she admires the fact that you didn't fold. Because whether women admit it or not, they test men for a reason. Those tests are not always about games. Sometimes they are subconscious ways to measure strength. And when you pass those tests, not by reacting, not by chasing, not by breaking, but by standing firm, you reveal a strength of character that very few men possess. And that strength is what draws respect. She may not chase you anymore, but she will remember you. She may not confess it, but she will silently hold you in a different category from the rest. Respect doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes she respects you enough to let go, to stop the games, to move forward with her life without bitterness. Other times, that respect makes her want to come back, not because she thinks she can control you, but because she sees value in a man who cannot be broken. Either way, the respect she develops in this stage is something she will carry with her, even if the relationship doesn't continue. Because once a woman experiences a man she cannot manipulate, she never forgets him. He becomes the standard against which she measures other men, the example of strength that lingers in her memory long after the emotions have faded. What makes this stage so powerful is that respect is something you cannot demand. It's something you earn. You didn't beg for it. You didn't fight for it. You didn't plead for her to see your value. You simply held your ground. You refused to play her games, and you showed her through your actions that your life, your peace, and your purpose are bigger than her validation. And that, in the end, is what forces her to accept the truth and grant you the respect she never gave before.